We've just hooked up our custom fonts. There's so much that we've already done. Look at all this HTML we've written. Look at all the CSS we've written. And we're just really beginning to scratch the surface. So let's see how we can start using some of the visualization of the final design to make more decisions with our CSS and our HTML and being able to select unique parts of our code. So let's go look at the design really quick. So in the design, you can see, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this, that there's kind of groupings that are going on. So over here, we've got our image and our name and our p tag all in kind of one big group. So if we were to like wrap this in one big group, that is some content that we want to control. And then we've got some links down here that are kind of in their own grouping. And so whenever we start identifying groups of things that we can start recreating over and over, we start introducing a new selector. And that selector is called a class. A class is a new syntactical sugar that we're going to be using in CSS. Sugar meaning it's going to make our life easier and it's going to make our code look a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and go full screen again. And you can see over here that we've got this div that is around these 3 A tags. The hard thing is, as we saw at the beginning, if you recall the 10px red square that we had that was on the basketball on the top, if we have multiple items and they're not unique, then it's really hard to style things. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce a way where we can start getting things to be separated. So go ahead, jump in here with me and type class, assign the value of, then open and close quotes. And we're going to type links. So what this is going to do is it's going to let us know that this specific div here is going to be just for links. So this is the abstract concept, of course. What does it look like in CSS? So in HTML, it's like, okay, this is cool. How do we tie it in? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the bottom of our CSS and hit enter a couple times under our p tag. And we're going to type in the syntax for classes. The syntax for classes is crazy simple. It's just dot. So dot is the equivalent of class in CSS. And then we're going to type in links, L-I-N-K-S, because that is what we named our class. So this is the equivalent syntax that we would see in HTML. And then we're going to do the same CSS syntax with open and close curly braces. So notice that we're no longer saying div, we're saying class. In CSS, we're saying dot links. Pretty cool. So let's kind of go look at how this would look and perform in a real website. Right now, this isn't fully actualized. Let's go see something that's live. All right, let's go look at how these things actually work in the wild. Join me at bloomtech.com. I'm going to show you some anchor tags that you probably didn't notice before. So we've saw the anchor tag, and you can see that we've got multiple buttons on this page. Now, to the untrained eye, you're going, wait a second, I thought these were just buttons. But if we use the inspector tool, you'll notice something interesting. These are actually A tags. And you'll see the class syntax down here. This class says class, assign the value of button, big underscore 280 W button. And then let's go over here and do the same thing. Look at that. It's another anchor tag. And notice that we've got a class of button, big, desktop only, W button. Notice that we've got multiple classes. We'll talk about that later. But I really want you to see that really it's just an anchor tag. And if we were to eliminate these classes, so if I were to hit delete, watch what happens. It loses all of its flavor, all of its CSS flavor. But this button still sticks around. This is the power of classes. Also, notice something up here. This sneaky thing up here, it's also an A tag. That's right. And notice it's also got its own different class on it. So you can see that if everything was the same, like if everything was an anchor tag, it'd be really hard for web designers and developers to have any differences on a page. It would look really bland and ugly. So classes allow us to do some pretty incredible, reusable design concepts with just CSS and using that class syntax. Okay, let's go back to our code and check it out. And now this should make a little bit more sense why we want to use dot links instead of typing div 100 times. Another place that we're probably going to want a class is going to be on our section tag. So section tags are very common in HTML. We use them a lot. And so we want to make sure that our section tag is differentiated from other section tags. So go ahead and join me in coding. Jump to your class or your section tag and type class, assign the value of quotes. And then we're going to go ahead and utilize a class that's going to make sure that we understand that this is a card. So we're going to type card because this is going to be our white card against the blue background. So remember, something that I really like to do in HTML is to go over to the gutter. So this is kind of blocking me here for a second. So there's this gutter over here, and there are these arrows, right? Join me in doing this. This is really cool now that we've had more practice. Minimize these arrows, and you can really see how our HTML is formed up. The main tag is wrapping the section tag. If we expand this, of course, our image is still hidden. We'll get to that in a couple more modules. We've got our H1, our P tag, and then we've got this div. If we minimize that, you can see that it's containing all the A tags. So we're starting to make a lot of progress here. Okay, now that we know how to use classes, we can use other selectors as well to not just use HTML elements. So these HTML elements in CSS are great, but as you'll see, we're going to be introducing multiple HTML elements. For example, what if we wanted to have a lot of cards? What if we wanted to have 4 or 5 cards? Well, we want to repeat this content using classes. Okay, we now know how to use selectors. Let's move on to the next stage.